Okay, so like I studied a lot for the real estate exam. So go ahead and quiz me.
Okay. What is the definition of capitalization?
Okay. So, like, you know how, like, at the beginning of a sentence, like, let's say, for example, I'm triggered by Jen being a cheater because it reminds me of Matt, who I'm in love with, cheating on me. So, like, at the beginning, with the I, instead of like a line with a little dot on it, it would be a line and I would cross it at the top and the bottom. That's capitalization.
No, it's the process of determining the present value of a property from its future income. Wait, did you say you were still in love with Matt?
No, geez, why does everyone keep asking me that? It was just an example sentence.
All right, well, let's try another one. What is the definition of steering? And I'll give you a hint. It's unlawful.
Okay, well, I know this one, unfortunately. This is something you should not do after having a few cocktails. I learned that one the hard way.
All right, well, not quite. How about this one? What's the definition of blockbusting?
See, like when someone's busting your chops?
Mm, uh, you did study, right? Let's try something easier. What's an example of exterior depreciation?
Exterior depreciation?
Hmm.
Is that like when your Botox wears off? Hey everybody, it's me, Jill, and welcome to Jill Informed. I'm finally back. It feels like it hasn't been that long to me. It probably feels longer to you guys, but part of that time, my daughter was here visiting. That kind of went by really fast. And for most of the rest of the time, I've been working on updating my channel. You guys have probably already noticed some of the changes. Things look a little bit different, starting with my logo. You know, a few people have been telling me I should use my real face. It's more personal. So I have decided to make my logo just a photo of my actual face and say goodbye to my adorable cartoon Jill that was done by my nephew, who's a graphic artist. And well, actually now he's a tattoo artist. Yeah. So thank you to Max. I love little cartoon Jill and she has served me well, but it's been 6 years now. We'll see. Maybe I'll come back to her one day. The other thing you probably noticed is I have a new intro, outro. It is another one of my husband's songs. This one's called Blame Game. Can also be found on Spotify or anywhere you purchase music. And I reshot the whole thing. I wanted to update the look of that, although I still wanted to give a nod to that old like turn and flip for the, like the Housewives tagline thing. I also redid my 1 minute trailer, so please check that out whenever you get a chance. And I finally updated my Amazon recommendations. I still have some of my old favorites on there, but it's mostly a new list of Amazon items that I recommend. I have organized it by category, so it should be easier to find things that might interest you. But also please remember that no matter what you click on, you don't have to buy that item. As long as you click on something from my list before you start shopping at Amazon, I will get a percentage of whatever you do purchase. It's still helpful to me, even if you aren't buying the things that are on my list. But, go ahead and check out the new stuff I have on there. And finally, before I start the recap, I have started a new little series on TikTok where every Thursday I'm going to post an old skit that I've done throughout the 6 years that I've been recapping. So I hope it's going to be fun. I don't know if anyone's going to, remember certain scenes or whatever from 5 years ago, but it was fun for me to like go back and see all the old stuff I used to do. There's even one of me doing Peggy from OC. I don't know if you guys remember Peggy, one season Peggy. I did one of her, so there's some are kind of obscure, but whatever. It's fun. If you're not on TikTok, I'm also posting them on Instagram, Threads. I'm on Threads now. If you guys are on Threads, please follow me over there. Everything is at Jill Informed. If you're on none of those things, I will also post them as a short on YouTube if they are 60 seconds or less, because that is the maximum that shorts can be. So some of these are longer and I won't be able to do it here on YouTube, but like I said, I'll have them in the other places too. Jill Informed has a Facebook page. I'm on all the things. If you go to my channel page, that's where you'll find my new trailer. And also that will take you immediately to all of my socials. So if you're looking to get quickly to like my Twitter, my Facebook, my Instagram, any of those things. Okay, anyway, that's enough of all the updating. And now it is time to get into the recap. It's probably no surprise to most of you, but I have decided to recap The Real Housewives of Orange County. It has always been one of my favorites. I missed last season when Heather Dubrow came back, but this season Tamara's back. So I know all the ladies with the exception of Jen. I do not know her, but even Taylor Armstrong from Beverly Hills is a friend of this year. So I thought it might be fun. However, I'm very behind. So today is going to be a recap of episodes 1 through 6. And next week will be episode 7, all caught up. So, all right, too much talking. Let's get started. Well, as I said, Tamara's back. Episode 1 starts with a montage of Tamara and all the ups and downs of her relationships with all the other ladies. Tamara's on a motorcycle. We get the montages while we see her, riding home. Tamara claims she has a new perspective on things. Her mother, Sandy, has moved into her casita. Sandy has a boyfriend. Cut Fitness is closing. They did not make it through COVID. And I guess Eddie doesn't know what to do with himself. I don't know. They have that other like CBD business. So I'm not sure. Tamara just keeps saying, Eddie needs to get out of the house. So I don't know. We check in with Shannon and Emily as they go on a hike together. I guess Tamara has been talking to the press about Emily, saying she's a very angry girl and that she was dancing on my grave when I got fired. So neither Shannon nor Emily are super fans of Tamara right now, because apparently Tamara has also been saying things in the press about Shannon. As you may know, they were best friends for 6 years. And now this is according to Shannon. She said that, and then Tamara got fired and they tried to stay in touch, but we never connected. And then she talked trash about Shannon on her podcast. You guys may be aware of that. Tamara and Teddy Mellencamp have a podcast called Two Teas in a Pod. I think it's pretty popular and they're not shy. That's probably why it's popular. I think there's a big feud going on with Tamara and Teresa Giudice for some reason. I really haven't watched it. Anyway, according to Tamara, she says she was only telling the truth about Shannon, that she never reached out to her. Okay, the other big news is I hope you guys are sitting down. Actually, this might have happened last year, and you might already know this. Shane passed the bar exam. Yeah. Good job, Shane. But now he goes to work every day, and he's at work all day, and Emily has to take care of the kids by herself. Hey, we have to push back on that a little bit because I seem to remember when I was recapping this show that Emily was a lawyer and she worked and she also did a lot of taking care of the house and the kids. So is it that different? I mean, maybe, Shane's not around for driving kids to and from places and stuff like that. Am I residually being hard on Shane? Has he turned a corner? Is he, great now? You guys know I have a little bit of a history with Shane. Over at Heather Dubrow's, her twins, Max and Nikki, I think his name is, they're 18 years old and they're leaving for college. And so Heather's like, oh my gosh, we have half of the kids are leaving the house now. So, yeah, things will be different for them, even though they still have two other children. So, Heather, I guess, got to be good friends with Gina. This probably happened last year. And she feels like Gina's been a little radio silent and is wondering what's going on with her. The next scene is bowling with Tamara and Eddie and the new girl, Jen, and her boyfriend, Ryan. Quick question. Was Jen on last year? Maybe she's not new. Maybe she's just new to me. I know Tamara wasn't on last year, so if Tamara and Jen are new, then please let me know in the comments. Are they replacing somebody or were they just added? No, they must be replacing somebody because there's only 6 of them with Tamara and Jen. So anyway, those of you who watched it last year, please let me know in the comments who's not here this year. Anyway, Gina and Heather do reconnect. Gina is going for her real estate license. Heather tells her that she was a little bit hurt that she hadn't reached out to her, and Gina was like kind of making every excuse under the sun. But she ends up saying that she's going to work on being more attentive to Heather, I guess. Heather's like, yeah, you say you're busy and you never call me, but I see you all the time on social media. You're out at these different events and parties. And Gina's like, yeah, but like it wasn't a party I thought you want to go to. Terry had said, maybe they just feel like they're not inviting us to everything because they think we're too fancy. And he was right, actually. In Gina's confessional, she goes, Heather Dubrow doesn't want to come to a dive bar. Heather Dubrow just wants to be invited to a dive bar so she can say no. She might be right. Then we kind of meet Jen. And she has a full house of children. She has a 12-year-old girl, 16-year-old boy, an 18-year-old boy, a 9-year-old boy, a 13-year-old boy, and like 47 animals. She shares a house with her ex. He lives in Oklahoma and works for her family so that when he's in town, he stays at the house with the kids and then she goes to Ryan's house. And then when he's back in Oklahoma, she moves back into the house with the kids. They're acting like that's such a weird arrangement, but I've heard of that a lot where people don't want to disrupt the children. They want the children to be able to stay in their own home, go to the same school, have their same friends. And it's just the parents that switch out, which, I mean, not a bad idea if you can afford to do that. Next, we are at pickleball with Heather, Gina, and Tamara. They talk about Jen's yoga class. I guess Jen has a yoga studio and they're all going to go to this outdoor class in the park. Tamara said she has been friends with Jen for several years. And Gina, I think, also knows Jen. She met her either at Cut Fitness or I don't know. She knows her from somewhere as well. Anyway, they're all going. And Heather says, can I invite someone? And Tamara said, I guess. And she said, I was thinking about inviting Shannon. And Tamara's like, that's fine. So when everyone gets to yoga, Tamara and Shannon, they hug, but it's very awkward. It's been 2.5 years since they've like talked or seen each other. So yeah, it's awkward. And then Jen is introducing herself to everyone. So I guess maybe this is Jen's first season. Everyone has to split off into couples, and Emily and Tamara have kind of a sweet moment. And they agree to kind of go forward with each other. Emily says that she likes Jen, but she heard through Gina that Jen was unfaithful to her husband. Episode 1 ends with Shannon and Tamara agreeing to get together for lunch and have a talk. And they both admit that they miss each other. Okay, in episode 2, Emily is having lunch with Gina and Jen. Gina's not drinking. Gina tells them she's having an end of the summer party on a boat. She's got a friend who has a boat and said that they could borrow it. And all the ladies are invited. Now we see that lunch between Tamara and Shannon. Tamara's telling Shannon she's been a good friend to her for years, but now that she's got stuff she's going through, I can't remember, someone was sick. But also, Cut Fitness closing. And there's just been a lot that Tamara's been going through. And Shannon hasn't reached out to her. So as Tamara is telling Shannon she's been such a good friend for years and years, Shannon goes, as have I. And Tamara goes, ish. Tamara tells Shannon that she's a fake friend and that she ghosted her. Shannon's like, I didn't stop reaching out to you until you started trashing me. They end this lunch by saying that they both decide to go forward and just see where that goes. But I'm not hopeful because it ended very uncomfortably, to say the least. We check in with Jen again. You guys, something about Jen with all the kids and the animals, it's a little Bronwyn-ish for me. Maybe not quite as granola as Bronwyn, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, as I said, Eddie and Tamara are closing down Cut Fitness and they're at the studio, like taking things off the walls and all that. And Tamara tells him about the lunch with Shannon that, like I said, did not go great. And Eddie said, the only good thing about Shannon was David. David Bedore? Has anyone ever said that the good thing about anything was David Bedore? I don't know. That's an interesting take. I guess Eddie and David were friends. I do remember them doing that Ironman competition thing. Shannon went but didn't compete, and it was just like David and Eddie and Tamara doing it. Maybe it wasn't Ironman. It was one of those like obstacle course things where you go through the mud and yeah. Anyway, apparently Eddie likes David. So then Eddie said, I don't know how he lasted so long. She drinks way too much. And Tamara's like, oh, well, I mean, now that you mention it, like Shannon is always blaming others for her drinking. And like the few times that I've been around John, they're always like in a drunken fight. Side note, in real life, Shannon and John are broken up, I believe, unless that has changed. But they did break up. And I just remember maybe she was on Watch What Happens Live or something, Shannon, talking about how the whole season was filmed while she and John were a couple. And now they're not. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she'll get back with David Bedore. David? 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 Okay, so it's time for the boat trip, but the host, Gina, has COVID. She can't go, and her friend, this is the only time they can borrow the boat. So Emily has agreed to take over the hosting duties, and she and Shane went over to Gina's to like pick up some party favors and stuff like that. Anyway, the surprise guest on this boat trip is Taylor Armstrong. So I guess she's going to be on as a friend of Tamara's this season because she met Tamara during one of the Ultimate Girls Trip seasons. I can't remember. There's been 3 now. I may be covering those at some point. Even though it's not like they're not currently on, I think I might do it anyway. We'll see. But for now, it's OC. So Tamara, the ladies are all sitting around and on the boat, and Tamara tells them that Jen has an amazing story about how she fostered children. When Bravo was letting us know about all her children, her 9-year-old, they said, was her foster son, but she did adopt him. So I think that that's what this story is going to be about. I don't know what the story was really going to be about because Shannon keeps interrupting. I don't know if it's tragic. At the very least, it was a serious subject because it involved her 9-year-old's birth mother, and that he kept going back and forth to her and back in the system and that kind of thing. And in the middle of all of that, Shannon goes, "Is that Joe? Joe? Who is it? I think that's Joe. Is that Joe? That's John's son, Joe, over there." I guess in the boat next to them, she thought she saw John's son. Then she's like, "Wait, is that John?" Shannon, spoiler alert, it was neither of them, but it was so rude. And I think that Jen never really finished her story. Then later, some of the ladies go to the front of the boat, and Taylor goes up there and sits next to Heather, and she tells her that she got this acting role for this movie. And she's never been in a movie before. And she asked Heather if she would help her not make a fool of herself. And Heather's like, "Yeah, of course." Tamara's drinking like a fish, no pun intended. And Emily and Heather have both been trying to talk to her about possibly, meeting Shannon halfway. Just admit that you both made mistakes. But I didn't do anything wrong, Tamara said. I'm not doing that. And like I said, she's very drunk. And no, she can go a duck. I did not do anything wrong. She can come to me. Again, she says she can a duck. In Emily's confessional, she's like, I mean, if you want to move forward, you have to give in a little bit. The duck has been fucked. Just move on. But no, Tamara is gone beyond the point of no return. And she's now screaming at Shannon that she's a liar. You're a liar, 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 and a drunk. Moving on to episode 3, Heather wants more of a presence in LA. She's talking about now that the 2 older kids are off at school, she would like more of a presence in LA. Side note, for those of you who watch Selling Sunset, Heather on that show, you know, the one who married the guy who was on that home improvement show, Flip or Flop, that Heather sold Terry and Heather Dubrow a 2-bedroom penthouse for $14 million. 2 bedrooms. It was fully furnished though, so worth every penny, I'm sure. But anyway, I think that's to provide Heather Dubrow a place to establish herself so that she can have more of a presence in LA. I think that's what she's referring to. Because I think she wants to get into acting again. Now there's a scene with Tamara and Jen where Jen tells her that she told Shannon to a duck. Tamara doesn't remember that because she's so drunk, and she's like, oh, I owe her an apology. Tamara's also planning a goodbye cut fitness party. Gina and Travis are studying for their real estate exam. I guess Travis is also going to be a realtor. And she's struggling with questions that I got right, and I've not even studied. It's almost like just common sense things. Anyway, like I said before, Gina knows Jen from Cut Fitness, and she does not like that she started an affair with Ryan while she was still married because Gina herself has been cheated on. Shannon and John go crystal shopping. As they pull up, John makes her gracefully climb over the seat and get out on the driver's side into traffic because the curbs are high. So he didn't want her opening her door and, scraping it up on the curb. Here's a thought, asshole. Let the lady out before you fully pull in. There was enough room. You could have stopped the car, let her get out, and then fully moved into the spot. Or you get out, come around, you open the door and let her out so that she doesn't bang her door into the curb. She also talked earlier about John needing his space. So I'm thinking that the red flags are kind of all over the place. Anyway, while they're in the store, Tamara FaceTimes Shannon to give her a heartfelt apology for the way she behaved on the boat. Shannon's being very, okay, I mean, you shouldn't have done that. And she invites her to the Cut Fitness farewell party. Shannon agrees to go. In the next scene, we are visiting Shane's parents. Emily is over there with the kids and they're swimming in the pool. I forgot how much I love his family. I love Shane's mom and dad. I love his parents. I love his sister. His sister used to follow me, you guys. She used to comment on my recaps and stuff. Really sweet. And she told me that if I was ever in LA to look her up. So that was nice. Also, oh my God, his dad. Do you guys remember when Emily was doing like her sexy dance in Vegas? Remember she was learning that dance routine? She was either doing it for Shane's birthday or for their anniversary, something like that. And it was a surprise. And they went to Vegas and she had been practicing and was doing this, gonna do this sexy lingerie wearing like sexy dance on one of the stages at the hotel for Shane, and Shane wouldn't go. This is the thing. This is why I have a love-hate relationship with Shane. And his adorable dad showed up instead. And I know it was weird. Everyone thought it was strange because she was doing this sexy thing. It was not weird. It was sweet. It was just sweet. There was nothing weird about that man at all. He was just being supportive of his daughter-in-law, and it was awesome. Anyway, Emily and the kids are over, and she's telling them that Annabelle would like to be something in the entertainment business. She wants to be a model or an actress or something like that, and she wants an agent. And just for the record, Annabelle is stunning. She is just a beautiful kid. She's got these piercing blue eyes. She's really pretty. I think she could go far if they would let her. I don't know how much they're willing to let her do, but yeah, I think she could go far. Okay, now in the next scene, Heather is at Taylor's house and she's helping her run her lines and helping her with some, acting tips and stuff like that. Although she does have an acting coach come over as well. And then Taylor tells Heather that there is an actress that dropped out at the last moment and, there's a part for her. And Heather's like, oh, okay, that's sweet. But in Heather's mind, or in her confessional, she tells us that she's thinking, I need to know more about it. It films in Oklahoma. When does it start? When does it end? Usually it's like there's an agent that calls her agent and, that whole thing. Also, is this a Hallmark movie? I feel like it's going to be like that caliber. Because why? Taylor said it was a friend of hers, but Taylor Armstrong is not an actress, so she's giving her a part in this, I don't know, films in Oklahoma. I don't know why I feel like it's going to be like a Hallmark Christmas movie or something. Let me tell you how it's going to go. There's a woman who has a high pressure job in New York City and she's under all these deadlines, but her grandfather, who lives in Oklahoma, has just passed away, and the reading of the will left everything to her. She doesn't know why. She's shocked, but all she knows is she has to go home at Christmas time and help save the ranch. Of course, there's going to be a gorgeous ranch hand that she first fights with because, she's from New York City, doesn't know anything. She'll think he's arrogant, but, next thing you know, they're like pitching hay. She falls. He catches her in his arms. And I think we see where this is going. If that's not what happens, I just wrote the script for them. Okay, now we are at Tamara's Cut Fitness going away party. And oh good, her son Ryan is there. Speaking of ranches, he's got a cowboy hat on. He apparently works at a ranch nearby. I don't like this kid. I think he's problematic, and well, I'll just leave it at that. But he provides a segue for Tamara to suggest that all of the ladies go on a girls' trip to a dude ranch. At one point, Tamara is giving Shannon another overly sincere apology, and Shannon's being very precious about it. I'm cautious. Gina happened to notice that the day before, Jen posted a video on TikTok or something about her business, her yoga business, and how happy she is that it's still going strong and she hasn't had to close her doors. Now, the controversy here is that she posted it the day before her friend Tamara is closing her doors. Gina thought at the very least the timing was a little insensitive. She's telling Heather about it, and Heather's like, yeah, it's a little tone deaf, but I don't think we should bring it up here. And Gina's like, yeah, no. And then Gina confronts Jen about it in front of everybody. I think what's going on is that Gina isn't really feeling Jen because of the cheating thing. So she's stirring the pot a little bit. It's slightly reminiscent of Margaret and Jennifer, except that Jennifer forgave her husband, but not Margaret. There's a little back and forth with Tamara, like, did you do that to hurt me? And Jen's like, how dare you even ask me that? Of course not. But she does apologize for the timing of it. Okay, now in episode 4, Emily takes Annabelle to meet with an agent and they take some headshots and stuff like that. Also, there is a lot of shopping for Western clothes happening in this episode. Is it because I don't have the kind of money they have? I don't think I have ever shopped for clothing to match the place I was going to. Okay, if I'm going to like a beach place, of course, I'm bringing beach type clothing, but not specifically for the place. Like if I was going to Cancun, I'm not buying all kinds of Mexican themed things like the ladies do. In one of the shops, as they're shopping for the Montana trip, we have Jen, Tamara, and Heather. And Heather's asking some questions about Ryan. And Jen says, Ryan is a cheater. And Tamara's like, yeah, he is. And Jen goes, he'll tell anyone. I've never been faithful in my whole life. And Heather's like, has he been faithful to you? Jen kind of hesitates and she goes, yes. Tamara, you think? Yeah. And Heather's like, when people tell you who they are, you should listen. But no, Jen's like, yeah, no, it's different. Anyway, now we're in a scene where Taylor tells Tamara that Heather was very condescending to her when she came over and told her about the movie part. She said that Heather was kind of like, oh, you're cute, and patted her on the head. That's sweet. So Tamara's like, well, what? Like, she would never be in a movie with you because it wouldn't be like up to her standards or whatever. And she's like, well, I don't know. But she did tell her that they wanted Heather to send a tape as an audition or something, I guess. Then they were talking about Heather's IMDb, like, well, doesn't that speak for itself? And so they pull it up on their phone and they're going through everything. And, mostly it's in the 90s. She's done guest appearances on shows and stuff. She's was in a series and things like that. Next, everyone is heading to Montana. I take that back. Not everyone. Emily has tested positive for COVID. I hope it wasn't when she went to pick up that stuff from Gina's house. But she was outside. She never went in. They weren't even near each other. So I don't know what's going on. But she has tested positive for COVID. So they get there and there's like a villa and a bunkhouse. And 3 of the ladies are staying in the bunkhouse and 3 in the villa. Clearly, they all go to the bunkhouse first. And Shannon's like, oh, I can't cook in this kitchen. This kitchen's too small. I can't do it here. I can't do this. I'll have to stay in the villa. So it ends up being Gina. Gina's like, I'm thinking I should stay in the bunkhouse and get to know Jen better. So it's Jen and Gina and Taylor in the bunkhouse. And then Tamara, Shannon, and Heather in the villa. Shannon is being unbelievably picky, ridiculously so. Like I said, she hated the kitchen in the bunkhouse. So then they get to the villa. That had a nice kitchen, but now the bedrooms, I can't stay in here. So she ends up staying in the best one. Then Tamara's asking everyone if they can be ready in 35 minutes because she had planned for like that mechanical bull riding thing and lunch, I guess. They're like, yeah, we can be ready. Shannon, of course, not ready. I haven't even touched my makeup. And Tamara goes, that's okay. We can wait. No, you go ahead. You go ahead without me. So they do. But she's like, I'm doing the best I can. Like, she's just being such a wench about everything. And truly making Tamara, I think, jump through hoops to regain her friendship. Then when they have their like little dinner or whatever, Tamara asks Taylor and Jen, because they're the new girls to the group, to tell everybody something about themselves that nobody would know. And Taylor goes, that I'm bisexual. And Tamara knew that already, but the others did not. Apparently she was in a 5-year relationship with a woman before she was with Russell. She should have stayed with the woman because Russell was a nightmare. And then he killed himself. Okay, and unable to top that, Jen just tells everyone that she used to be a flight attendant. A little bit of a letdown after Taylor's, but, it was fine. Like I said, Gina is attempting to get closer to Jen in spite of her cheating. Or because of her cheating. I don't know. She's just trying to, get past her prejudice. Taylor confronts Heather about the movie role. She's like, is it just because you think, like, I'm not an actress, you wouldn't want to do the kind of movie, I'm in? And Heather's like, no, of course not. Heather now just starts going off about like protocol in a harsh way, I think, because Taylor just keeps saying, oh, well, I didn't know that. I don't know anything about the movie industry. And then Heather's just very offended. But Tamara calls Taylor out for saying that Heather's IMDb wasn't that impressive. Then in episode 5, we pick up right where we left off with Taylor responding by saying, well, Tamara's the one that said, you haven't done anything since the 1900s. Which Tamara's like, no, I said the 1990s. But when we get the flashback, she did say the 1900s. In a joking way, but still. So then Gina goes, well, it's clear that someone took a shot at her IMDb. And they're like, it's IMDb. She goes, well, I don't know. This goes on way too long. And then in the bathroom, Heather and Tamra are discussing it in whispers. Heather's like, Tamra, be honest. Were you being rude about me? And Tamra goes, no. The flashback proves otherwise. And then in Heather's confessional, she said, Tamra and I have always supported each other's careers. And if I find out differently, I'll be very disappointed. Well, prepare to be disappointed. Later at the villa, Shannon and Tamra kiss. And Shannon's like, come back. And she comes back and Shannon sticks her tongue out. And this is significant because, as I said at the beginning of this video, I'm doing this little Throwback Thursday thing with some of my old skits. And coincidentally enough, the first one that I chose was of Shannon. And I believe this was from a confessional of hers where she was talking about Bronwyn, who was kind of seriously going after Tamra. And Shannon had said that she would kiss a woman. She was doing all these crazy like hand gestures. So I was making fun of that. That if she kissed a woman, it would be okay if it was dry. In fact, I'll just show you right here.
I will kiss a girl on the lips dry. When any moisture starts to come in, I'm out.
Yeah, and now she's slipping Tamra the tongue. Wow. You miss a season and a lot has changed. Meanwhile, the ladies who are staying in the bunkhouse, they're discussing how Tamra threw Taylor under the bus when discussing Heather's IMDb. Back in the villa, Tamra's telling a fun story about Jen's boyfriend Ryan, aka the town whore. Tamra said she was told by her friend Heather, not Heather Dubrow, that she was told by her friend Heather that when Ryan first walked into Cut Fitness, he pointed at Tamra and said, I'm going to fuck her. And this Heather said, that's Tamra. She's married to Eddie. She owns this place. And he said, just watch me. I'm going to fuck her. And then 2 months later, he was with Jen. He sounds fun, doesn't he? Sounds like a great guy. Okay, now the ladies are split into two groups. Shannon, Tamra, and Taylor run a tractor, and I don't know what they're doing. Gina, Jen, and Heather are roping cattle and shoveling shit. Gina tries to be a good friend to Heather by telling her that Tamra is really to blame for IMDb Gate. But Heather's just kind of like, I just want to let it go. And Gina's like, oh, that's fine. If you don't want to deal with it, I will not say another word. Later at lunch, Gina confronts Jen about how her cheating is a struggle for her. But she likes her, but like Tamra says that she's kind of inconsistent with her stories. Now Jen's like getting really irritated with Tamra. She thanks Gina for her honesty, but she's like, but I have to have a conversation with Tamra. Meanwhile, back at home, Annabelle did sign with the agency. Of course, they were not going to turn that gorgeous kid down. Tamra now surprises all the ladies by telling them to just pack up their flannel pajamas that she brought everybody and everything for one night, because her big surprise is that they're going to camp out in tents for one night, and nobody is happy about that. Gina gets in trouble for butting into the whole IMDb Gate. Tamra's mad that she talked to Heather about it when she and Heather were good. Gina's now mad at Heather for going to Tamra and telling her what she said. Jen is mad at Tamra for saying that she struggles with the truth. And Tamra blurts out that Ryan wanted to fuck her. When asked, she said that she never told Jen because she never even told Eddie. Jen defends herself by saying she never even held hands with Ryan before she told Will that their marriage was over. Tamra thinks this isn't true because earlier she told the story that Will, Jen's husband, caught them in a car together. Jen says that Ryan had a gift for her and they went to her car where he gave her the gift. We never heard what the gift was. But Gina has heard enough. She walks away. She's like, an emotional affair is just as bad. And Heather's like, 1,000%. I think it's worse. Tamra and Jen go off to have a heart-to-heart while Taylor cuts Shannon out of her pants because she has to go pee. She's struggling with the buckle, and Taylor ends up just grabbing a knife and cutting her right out of those pants so she can go pee. So Tamara is telling Jen that Ryan sent her friend Heather, the one that told her in the first place what he said when he first walked into Cut Fitness, that he sent her a dick pic. And right away, Jen goes, oh, he was with me. He meant to send that to me. We were on a plane and he only has a few people in his contact list. It's like me and his kids and Heather. It was an accident. And Tamara goes, but you were right there with him? Why was he sending you a dick pic? And Jen goes, he was just being funny. He sounds hilarious. Well, good news, Shane. You're not the worst guy on the show. Also, meanwhile, Heather and Gina are in that like four-wheeler talking, and Gina is just about to FaceTime Travis. And Heather grabs it and says, do not call Travis. And Travis answers, and Heather just goes, oh, she's fine. We're fine. We'll call you back a little bit later. And he's like, okay. So she hangs up on him, and Heather's like, Travis is not the person that you should talk to this about, because it's not fair to him that you're still like so upset about the affair that your husband had. I understood what Heather was saying. It was like Gina still hung up on her ex in a way, you know. And if she's this bothered by the affair that she can't even hang out with Jen, it kind of might make it seem to Travis like she's still hung up on her ex. Now we're in episode 6. We're picking right up in that conversation with Heather and Gina. In Gina's confessional, she's like, I want to be over it. But like recently I was at a wedding at a church, and like me and I got married at a church. So it was really triggering for me. Okay. I mean, a lot of weddings happen in a church. I think you should have prepared for that before you went. Just saying. Anyway, Gina and Heather hug and say their I love yous to each other. Meanwhile, Tamara and Shannon are changing into their flannels in their tent. Oh, Taylor's there too, because Tamara tells them that Ryan has slept with other married women at her gym too. That tracks. There's no revelation there. So now it's time to eat around the fire. They're having trout and bison. No, thank you to either of those. But anyway, Heather wants to smoke a joint. So she gave some to Tamara and they're smoking a little bit. And Tamara's getting pretty high. Tamara's a lightweight. And she asks everyone, are you guys really okay sleeping in the tents? And everyone's like, no, not at all. And we never were okay with it. So I guess that was never really the plan. I did notice earlier that when Tamara was like, I'm getting high, she said to Heather, I might actually sleep in one of these tents tonight. So that was never the plan. I guess it was just a little joke. Okay, so the next morning it's fly fishing and whitewater rafting. We have Heather, Gina, and Shannon who have chosen the fly fishing, and Taylor, Tamara, and Jen doing the rafting. Before they go, Jen FaceTimes Ryan and tells him that last night was really rough, particularly with Tamara. She tells us in her confessional that she did not want to tell him what Tamara said because he would go crazy. And she just thinks she needs to do that face to face. So the whitewater rafting guide is Kevin, and he's 23 years old, and, you know, he looks like a surfer dude. In stark contrast to that, the fly fisherman guide is Butch, and he looks to be about 73. The rafting ladies are told by Kevin that Tamara and Taylor, because they're in the front, on opposite sides in the front, they have to paddle together to keep the raft going straight. And as soon as they come to the first rapid, Tamara loses it, screaming. Taylor, who is like on the opposite side in the front, her paddle partner, is screaming at Tamara, paddle! You have to paddle! And Tamara's like, no, I can't. She's screaming, you guys, you have to watch this scene. You have to. NBC Universal flags me every time I put a video clip in my recaps, so I cannot insert one here for you, but oh my God, I was literally laughing out loud. But you have to watch it. It's about 15 minutes into episode 6. My stomach was hurting. Tamara is screaming. Taylor is screaming. Together! We have to paddle together! Fucking paddle! It's so funny. But the surprise laugh out loud for me came with the fly fishing girls. I never would have expected that. But these girls who are doing the rafting are like bouncing up and down in all the rapids, and it's crazy, and you think they're going to flip over. It's nuts. And then you get to the fly fishing, and there's just like the water's rippling a little, and they're all in their waders. And Heather's like, wait, I'm in the rapids. It's just a little wave, but she thinks she's going to fall over. And there's just like this little current. They're all having trouble standing, to be fair. Gina already fell. So they're like, okay, should we take a break? They head back in. Shannon's like, can I use my pole as a cane? I'm sure Butch was like, please don't. But you guys, again, you have to watch this scene because they are now all like grabbing onto each other, pulling each other down, falling, trying to stand. Gina is screaming because she thinks she saw a lobster. There's a lobster in a river in Montana. I did have to look up what she might have seen, and most likely it was a crawfish, which they look like a little lobster. So, I mean, I get that. But yeah, just two really great, funny scenes. Back with the rafting ladies, it appears they have encountered a different issue. That would be Kevin's balls. Specifically, that they seem to be visible at all times. And the ladies just can't look away. Okay, so now it's the last dinner at the ranch that they go around the table and give their peek and pit of the trip. Yeah. Is this ever a good idea? That would be my question. I don't think this ever goes well for the housewives. I have an idea. How about you go around and just give your peek? What was the best thing about the trip for each of you? Why do we have to say the worst part when everyone always seems to be on the verge of fighting anyway? Anywho, Shannon goes first, and hers is fine. Her peek is, of course, the fact that she's back thick as thieves with Tamra. She just never thought it would happen, and she's just so happy to be back friends with her, and Tamra's smiling at her, and they love each other, they're sisters. Her pit was that there was some scratching that she heard all night last night and didn't get a wink of sleep. So maybe these aren't going to be so bad. Guess again. Heather's next. Her peak, believe it or not, was shoveling it with Gina because it reminded her of how hard people have to work to provide all the things that, others get to enjoy. Now, Tamra in her confessional was kind of like, oh, really? Miss High and Mighty? Oh, it's fun to see how the other half lives, kind of a thing. My hot take is I'm not bothered by what Heather said. We all know she doesn't live like most of us anyway. That's been established. She's Miss Fancy Pants. She just bought a 2-bedroom penthouse for $14 million because she wants to be more established in LA. So clearly, she doesn't live like the rest of us. So acknowledging and appreciating the other half, more like the other 99% of us, it's fine. What's the alternative? She doesn't appreciate others? I mean, I don't know. I think that was being nitpicky, probably because Tamra didn't like what her pit was. Heather's pit was that ever since Shannon and Tamra made up, she feels like a third wheel a little bit. They are very offended because they were not excluding her whatsoever. She cites, I guess, that earlier that day, they were in the bathroom together with the door closed and she could hear them laughing and giggling. And like she knocked on the door to get a straightener or a curling iron or something. And, they gave it to her and she left, but she just didn't feel like she was welcome in. I don't know. I mean, I could see it. There were a bunch of other little examples too. Like whenever they had to split into groups of 3, Tamra was always like, okay, me, Shannon, and like whoever. So yeah, I don't know. She just was feeling a little left out. But I just have to say, this escalates in a ridiculous way. Shannon is like crying. Heather said, look, the only reason I said this was my pit is because I didn't want to go back to like the real low point, which was the, IMDb gate with Taylor. I just didn't want to like open the door to like that whole thing again. I'm over it. So I didn't bring it up. I just thought of like the first thing that came to mind was what happened today. And that's my issue. That's not a you issue. That's a Heather issue. That's just some kind of way I was feeling. I'm not saying you guys excluded me. It's my problem. But that doesn't stop Shannon from, how dare you? How dare you put a low on me and Tamara getting back together? I never thought I would be sitting next to this girl again. And I'm pissed. Jeez. Okay. So Taylor's low was IMDb Gate. Yeah. She's going there. But she only says it because she wants to apologize to Heather. Jen says that her low was being a trigger for Gina because she really likes Gina and she's sorry about that. Gina starts to cry again. Gina's also being a little annoying. And I don't think Jen should get a pass for cheating. And this is going to be a hot take too, but at least she didn't break up a marriage. She didn't cheat with a married man. Unless Ryan was married, although I find that hard to believe. She broke up her own marriage. The other feels a little more evil because you're messing with another woman's life. Here, she messed with her own life. Please don't misunderstand me. Neither one is okay. It's just, if I were to rate which one was more horrible, I think Jen ruining her own life is a slightly less horrible. Because yes, of course, I know she affected other people like her children and her husband. So anyway, Gina, like I said, she starts to cry and she said, it's not about Matt. It's about feeling like the rug got pulled out from under her, the life that she thought she had. And Shannon goes, you need to figure it out because you have someone with you right now. And I worry. Heather cuts her off. Yeah, how much longer is he going to put up with this? I said that to her last night. And Gina's like, stop, Heather. Put up with what? These are my feelings. Yeah, I mean, look, if it were that she can't get over Matt, then I understand what the other ladies are saying. But I don't think that's what it is. If you recall, Matt also was physically violent with Gina. So yeah, I actually think Gina explained it quite well right now by saying it isn't about Matt. It's about the life that I thought I was living and having. The rug just got pulled out from under me. So, I mean, I get that being a trigger. Okay, so now we are back in Orange County. Tamara and Eddie go for a hike, and this is when Tamara tells him what Ryan said the first time he stepped into their gym. And Eddie goes, really? One of my friends told me to keep an eye on my wife because Ryan has a reputation for going after married women. Again, sounds like a real catch, Jen. So now it reminds Tamara of Vicky and Brooks. She would just love to get Jen away from him. She can't. Jen's not seeing it. This is like Vicky with Brooks. And side note, this is just my humble opinion, but Ryan, not worth the trouble. And Jen is too old to be dealing with this. You're beautiful. You could get a decent guy. Move on. Now we see a little photo shoot with Annabelle. She's doing an athleisure campaign because, you know how children need some leisure time. They need to unwind. And Jen has a conversation with Ryan, tells him what Tamara said. We learn a little bit about Heather Amin, who is the woman where this story originated from. According to Jen, this Heather Amin was like sisters with Ryan. So I'm sorry, that just makes her more credible in my eyes. When she says that Ryan looked at Tamara and said, I'm going to f her, I believe it even more now, knowing that Heather was that close to Ryan. According to Tamara, her, Jen, and Heather Amin were like the new Tres Amigas until things fell apart. Anyway, Jen is sitting down on the couch with Ryan. She's telling him the whole story. Ryan, of course, denies it all. And the conclusion that he's come to is that everyone's jealous. Yep, because their love is amazing. Yeah, no, that's not it. It's not even close, really. Then she brings up the dick pic and he's like, oh, that is gross. That's disgusting. But then he also said that the dick pic was accidentally sent to everyone in his contact list. Now, earlier, Jen told us that his kids were in that contact list. So, you want to talk about what's gross? That's gross. You sent a picture of your dick to your children. I don't know how old they are. I don't care. It doesn't matter. They're your children. And you sent a picture of your penis to them. That is actually gross. At Gina's, she tells Travis that Heather told her not to call him and that, you know, she shouldn't be burdening him with this stuff. But then Heather wasn't like coming to check on me either. She's just laughing with Tamra. So she tells me not to call you, but then like she doesn't even come to me. So she asks Travis, should I not be coming to you with this stuff? And Travis said, no, you absolutely should. That's one of my jobs in this relationship. Oh. Okay, you guys can tell me what an asshole Travis is in the comments, but as I stand right now, I don't know anything bad about him. And what he just said was adorable. In his confessional, he's like, it is sometimes hard hearing about her ex, but she's been through a very traumatic thing, and I'm her person. If she wasn't coming to me with this stuff, that would be upsetting to me. And then he says, if you need to lean on me more, I got big shoulders. Let's go. You guys, I like him. I love what he just said. Again, I'm terrified, but I know you guys are going to tell me something bad about him. Does he not have a job or something? Is he like a freeloader? I'm not sure. Is there something like that going on? I don't know. I would almost, if I had enough money, and I don't know if Gina does, but like she's got more money than I do. If I had enough money, I'm fine with a guy who doesn't have a job, but if he's that good to me, I think I'm okay with that. I would like it better than the opposite. So anyway, Gina says, you know, Heather accused me of not being a good friend and not calling her enough. And I have been working on that, but I feel like she's not a good friend to me. And Travis just thinks that Gina needs to talk to Heather about that. And that's it. That's my recap of the first 6 episodes of season 17. Previews for the season look pretty good. Looks like there's some good stuff coming. I'm here for it. I hope you guys are too. Thank you so much for all of your support. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you're liking the changes and the updates. And you know, you can follow me on all the socials. Instagram, I do a lot of more personal stuff I post on there, but I post things for the channel there as well. But if you want to see all of my little skits and stuff, those are going to be on TikTok, Instagram, Threads. If any of you are on Threads, I'm most likely going to see your comments over there because I got nobody following me there. And like I said, if they're less than a minute, they will also be on YouTube Shorts. So just, you know, thanks again for your support. Thanks for waiting for me to come back. I appreciate you guys very, very much. And I will see you next week. Bye.